Thank you, councillors, staff and members of the public. I will declare this meeting open. Before we do, we've also just allowed Councillor McCleary to attend by telephone. Under the new Act, we don't need a vote on that. I've given that approval. Councillor McCleary, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks. Thank you, Councillor McCleary. Yes, we can. Thank you, Councillor McCleary. I'll just ask you to keep your phone on mute until you have anything to say. That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, will do.
Thank you. I would also like to acknowledge that we are on the Wadandinunga land, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Just the one announcement from myself, which is just around Christmas, obviously last meeting before the new year, so wishing everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Councillor Andrew, do you have a question?
Can you just confirm the location?
Sure. In New South Wales, and again under the new regulations, you no longer need to be in the state or 150. So that is under the new regulations. Councillor McCleary is able to.
Okay, so they've changed the state.
They have changed, and the governance manager has confirmed that today. Thank you. Moving along. Thank you, Minute Taker. We do have Councillor Plum on leave. Councillor Steele is an apology, and Councillor Steck is also an apology. Everyone else is here. We have a number of declarations of interest which are on the screen there. Outside the ones on the screen, we also have one from Councillor Marina Quain, who's just been handed to me on item 10.4.1. That item is a financial interest, as there's some financial interest in the Moorlands Riverlea development. Councillor Quain will be leaving the meeting for that item. The rest of the items which are all there are all impartial interests and will be staying in the room to vote. Is there any other declaration of interest, councillors? Thank you. Oh, thank you, Councillor McCleary. Confirmation of the previous minutes. Somebody happy to move that we accept those? Thank you, Councillor Quain. Second, Councillor Andrew. All those in favour, please indicate. Councillor McCleary, thank you. Councillor McCleary, just to avoid confusion, I'll call the vote and then I'll ask for yours at the end. Just to, that'll be probably the easiest. Thank you. And minutes for the Councillor Advisory Committees. Councillors, there's 3 of those committees there. Somebody happy to move that we accept those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Cos. Second, Councillor Yip. All those in favour, please indicate. And Councillor McCleary?
Yes.
Thank you. We do have a number of 3 deputations, councillors, on the same item tonight. Is there going to be any resistance to any of those speakers, councillors? If that's the case, could somebody move that we don't need a mover, sorry. I'll just put that we accept those 3 speakers to speak. All those in favour? Councillor McCleary?
Yes.
Thank you, that's carried. So when we get to those items, those speaking tonight, when we get to that item I should say, we'll call you to present at that stage. So dealing with the agenda tonight, councillors, again, given that I believe most people are probably here for that one item, we will deal with item 10.4.1 first, or when we get to that one. Other items coming out for discussion at this stage being flagged are 10.1.9, which requires an absolute majority, 10.3.4, which also requires an absolute majority, 10.4.1, which I've just indicated, 10.4.2, 10.5.1, which also requires an absolute majority, and the 3 items, confidential items 15.11, 15.12 and 15.13 will all be dealt with. Was there any other coming out for discussion? Yes, Gassab?
I was reading something.
That's okay. So
1.3, does that come up?
It hasn't at this stage. We can bring that out, Councillor Gassab.
1.11,
1.11
and 1.2.
And 1.2.
Safety plans come up, obviously. And 1.2.11, annual report.
1.2.11 wasn't. Yep. So we'll go again. Coming out for discussion: 10.11, 10.12, 10.13, 10.19, 10.11, 10.34, 10.41, 10.42, 10.51, and the 3 confidential items. Are there anything further any councillors would like to discuss? If that's the case, somebody happy to move that we deal with those? That those are moved on block. I should be more clarified there. Councillor Quain, as seconder. Councillor Andrew. Those in favour, please indicate. Councillor McCleary. Councillor McCleary, you there?
Yes.
That was just moving the rest of them on block. Happy with that, Councillor McCleary? Happy to vote in favour?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, as indicated, councillors, we're going to deal with item 10.4.1 first, the draft structure plan, and we do have deputations there. So I'll ask those deputies to come forward now, or the first one, sorry. Mr. Ray Taylor, if you would like to start proceedings. Sorry, Councillor Quain. Councillor Quain will be leaving the room at this stage. Thank you. Mr. Taylor.
Well, good evening, Mayor, councillors, and council people, and the public. I'll start off like I told you spoke to you last week about the reason why we should put this spillway in place, and that's because of the flooding of Glen Iris. Now, I'll go back to where the port, it's probably not a good idea for them to expand that because the Yarragadee aquifer is just underneath it. And I worked on, and I've told you this, spoke to you last week about this, I worked on the first part, and we had to blast all the basalt, everything like that, and we ended up cracking the basalt and making a lot of pores around Buckley salty. Now the Yarragadee is our drinking water. It stretches all the way from way up near Perth all the way down south. Now if we happen to go back into we must be the only country in the world that makes a port back into the land. Most people think the ports go out to sea, don't they? I think so. But, you know, we must be the only people that do that. But if they start blasting the basalt, they've got to go. I just had a hole drilled in my place because we have a nursery there. And I drilled down about 29 metres to 30 metres through the basalt to get to the Yarragadee so we could get water that wasn't so salty. Now, that's not very far because I think it was about 46 feet or something like that. We blasted that harbour down. It might even been a bit deeper than that. But they can't fill the ships right up. They have to go back up to Fremantle and fill them right up because otherwise they hit the bottom. Now, if they think that they're going to blast right back to where the main road is, where the Forest Highway is, where the Preston Bridge is, well then there's a good chance that they could break the rock and make all the water salty. And that would be devastating for the southwest and the whole of Western Australia. So I think they would need to stay away from that. So in saying that, it's a good idea that if they didn't do that, why don't we put a little thing in place so we can actually keep the river where it goes into the estuary, so the water does what it does right now. But there's a little area, and I don't know if you have a picture of where the Preston River goes close to the port, do you? Okay, well there is a place where they can just put a spillway into the port there, if you happen to find one of those things. Right, now we'll get back to the floodway. Have we got the pictures of the floodway?
That'll be in the plan. Yeah, we wouldn't have any pictures of the that far in because it wouldn't be on the district plan, but we can get the district structure plan photo up we had the other day.
The structure plan?
Yep.
Glen Iris?
Yep.
Please. That's the structure plan. Now, I have a picture here. I don't know if you've seen this or not. Now, this came from the Water Authority. I did ask the council's Kelvin Story to see if he could bring up a map. Now, I was forwarded this from Kelvin, and it was from the Water Authority. Now, this is the map here. This is part of the floodway. You can all see that. The yellow piece is there. And you can see all the water all around there. Now this is before this flood study was done, before this Glen Iris proposal that you're doing. All right? For Mr. Pearsontides. See all this floodway here. Now the blocks that I've, this is my place here and this one here. And this is Shemma Lanes down the bottom here. There's only 3 blocks there. Now I did a laser level across to here to River Lee today to get the heights, different heights of the land. We're only about 350 different from what the level of those blocks are there to the level of these ones, which is not much fill anyway if you wanted to bring it up to the 1 in 100 year flood level. Okay. Now, if you have a look at all this around here, when they do these flood studies, they come up, and if you look at that picture where all the brown is, this is what the flood study does. The flood study takes all that brown area, and it says to the computer, righto, that has all been filled to the 100-year flood level. And so then they throw all this water everywhere like that, and it's all supposed to be catched in that yellow bit. So in other words, they leave my blocks and Shemma Lane's blocks up there without any floodway thing done on it, and no consideration for where the water is going to go into our blocks at the time, right, in this flood, because all the area that they want to develop is all okay because it's all 4 metres above sea level. Well, ours is only about 3.4 or 3.7 or something like that. So I believe that it's a bit unfair that these flood studies get done, and there's quite a few of them around. Now, I was talking to a guy today from ASIVAN, I think it's called, and they did the main roads study for this road that's going across there. They did the flood study for that. Now, he was telling me that there was a lot of different flood studies around, and what they're trying to do is get the southern ports made a big flood study. It cost $1 million, apparently. They're trying to get all those reports and have one report so there's not too many conflicting reports around. Now, I believe a fair system that we should have been included in that flood study. There's only a small little portion there that's being affected by this now. All the rest of them seem to be okay. Can we have the council sort of have a little bit of a think about this, you know? I mean, otherwise, if they go ahead, every time, it's just like a bucket of water. If you throw a rock in that bucket every time, eventually it's going to overflow. Now, where is it going to overflow? If you keep filling the land up, it's going to start flowing down towards my place. And the worst part about that, if that levee ever did breach and the water started flowing, it's going to take a long time before it goes around the corner there, through those other houses that they've got there, and out towards the estuary. Now, by that time, God knows how high it'll be in my place. Now, in the 100, in your in this booklet here, which is your floodplain management policy 2016. I don't know if all you people are familiar with all this material. There's boxes of it, I can tell you. Now, the 1 in 100 EPA flood level of the estuary, Lessenol estuary, is 1.92 metres. That's pretty high, isn't it, for the estuary to come up? So could you imagine if the estuary's got nearly 2 metres of water in it, where's all this other water going to go? It's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to keep building up and building up and building up. So I'm pretty well dead set against, there's enough land up the top there that's high land, and I've said it in my submissions before, that Pearsontides and the councils can all dive into that and develop that. It's no problem because it's high land. But all down the bottom there, in that little, where the little hand is there now, right, and down along that edge there, in there, that's all low land. There's no reason they should fill that until they at least do a study on the 3 properties down the end there to see if we're in check to be okay. And if we could have the council permission to, if we want to fill that, to put a housing block in there, or have medium density put there, just like they're trying to do down where the little hand is, medium density through there. I think we should have the same, because we're on the same route, so we should have the same policies and the same treatment. So in saying that, then we will have equal, thoughts about it. But also, a good thing is to build them up on stilts so that the water can freely flow underneath it if you wanted to put some houses there. Not that I want to build a whole heap of houses on my block, I'm quite happy to be by myself. But the chances is, if I wanted to build another house, then I have to either knock that house down, fill the land up, and then build the house. So I think I'd rather have that house and then put another one on there.
Mr. Taylor, that's your 10 minutes, Mr. Taylor. I'll just allow 30 seconds to summarise.
Yep. All right. If you know what the 1 in 100 flood means, it means that it's not one flood and then have 99 years to have another one. It's 1% every year that you'll get a big flood. Okay. So anyway, I'd like to get that all done. I'd like the council to lobby the West Australian Planning Commission, the state government, for the spillway and planning time to consider different options that they can develop the higher land first without the fill of the lower areas, and that's about it, I suppose. So the 3.95 is the 1 in 100 year flood.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, and everybody have a joyful Christmas and New Year.
Thank you. You too. Kylie Shaw. Thank you, Kylie.
Hello. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councillors. My name is Kylie Shaw. I'm from Harley Dykstra and represent the Bunny and Parson families in relation to their properties on Jeffrey Road. Although it's acknowledged that the Glen Iris area needed a coordinated approach to planning, the preparation of the district structure plan has taken much longer than anticipated. This has left landowners within the western undeveloped portion somewhat fatigued by the process and a reluctance to raise further issues for the fear of the DSP will take even longer to finalise. In saying that, it is expected the DSP will be in place for 20 plus years. So the opportunity to get this right is now. The additional comments in relation to the investigation into the floodway levy to possibly reduce the relief floodway is a welcome modification to the recommendations to the WAPC from last week's council briefing session. The relief floodway may only be required in a 1 in 100 year event with a breach in the levee wall. It does seem logical that this levee wall should be investigated and tested for capacity to withhold floodwaters with an overflow directed into the inner harbour or an alternative outlet should a flood event occur. The relief floodway as it stands cannot be developed, fenced or landscaped, so as not to impede flowing water in the event of a flood. The risk is that this land could potentially attract antisocial behaviour, dumping of rubbish, if not managed properly, while being a wasted opportunity of much needed land that could be developed for residential purposes. While Main Roads has a difficult task in designing the proposed road network, assumptions have been made in terms of the expected traffic numbers generated from within the future residential areas, the local centre precinct, and also from those accessing schools and other facilities in Glen Iris. With or due for completion in the next few years, the impact of this is not entirely known, so the assumptions are even more difficult to quantify. From independent traffic consultant studies undertaken previously, it seems as though Main Roads have taken a very cautious approach and allowed for the worst case scenario in terms of traffic numbers and the resulting road specifications. This may factor traffic through the residential area rather than using the established regional road network. It should be noted the arterial road proposed by the DSP is reliant on each parcel of land given up when it is subdivided. This is likely to cause an issue depending on the time frame of individual developers. Particularly if the floodway investigation suggests an alternative to that shown on the current DSP, the proposed arterial road network should be revised. The alternative route along Jeffrey Road further to the west, as proposed by the city's planning services team, is a supported alternative. While the DSP has matters that still warrant investigation, it is hoped that this is undertaken as per the recommendation of planning services in the next phase of the approval process. However, there is a risk that the WAPC will not support this undertaking and the additional cost of these studies. Thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thank you, Kylie. And lastly,
Mr. Mayor, can we do something about that noise? It was very difficult.
sure. I'm not sure it was the aircon or the microphone. It's the aircon. So, is the microphone? Do you want to just turn that microphone off for a second? No, it's the microphone. Sorry, Councillor Smith, we've got one more speaker and we'll have to work our way through that one. So, Canella, and we'll leave the microphone on for those listening. And yeah, and if we just speak into that microphone just to override that sound that's going through. It's just a bit of a rustling sound, but that'd be great. Thank you, Canella.
Thank you. And good evening, everyone. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Bunbury Farmers Market. As you'd appreciate, this week is one of their busiest weeks of the year. So my client, Graham Heath, one of the owners, is not able to be here. He is, however, listening in via the live stream with considerable interest. If this matter is not briefly deferred tonight, which was suggested by myself and nearly all of the other people who spoke last week, but also in submission from the most impacted landowners, being those who can influence and deliver this structure plan, and tonight the council is of a mind to support it, I'd ask that the resolution is amended to address three particular things. Firstly, I'd ask you to resolve to amend the Glen Iris District Structure Plan document to keep Victoria Road as the primary thoroughfare through Glen Iris. This is preserving the existing four-way intersection at Victoria Road and Forest Highway, ensuring that this is the ultimate long-term solution. This would also mean making the proposed new road left in, left out at the Forest Highway, not vice versa, as presently set out. This is critical. This is not just a matter for the Bunbury Farmers Market. The loss of the right-hand turn movements at this intersection, it is significant for my client, but to not do so is also going to have significant impact on Glen Iris more broadly. When I've spoken about the loss of the right-hand turn movements, I mean two things. That's the ability to turn right from the highway into Victoria Road when you travel east out of Bunbury, and it's also the ability to turn right back out onto the highway at Victoria Road to then travel east towards Eden and Perth. Without these right turn options, it does mean that traffic has to find another pathway out of this locality, and at the moment the structure plan just does not cater for this. Not doing this, as I said, means the traffic has to find another way to get into and away from the school and also the farmers market when this right-hand movement is lost. There are options, but all of these options mean you have to traffic back through and into Glen Iris. They're far less convenient and direct. I don't think it's going to stop people going to the farmers market, but it is going to create another traffic issue that's not addressed. We believe that the worst issue is probably people needing to go right, coming out of Victoria Road, and travel east towards Eton and Perth, that they're going to be more likely to try and find routes out of Glen Iris back through the residential area. And at worst, that would be winding through the streets to Jubilee Road and then exiting via Elixir. This is completely undesirable. The premise of this structure plan is to improve traffic, not to create new problems. Keeping Victoria Road as the four-way intersection keeps this external traffic coming to these particular destinations quite localised, whether that's the school or the farmers market, in the future for the local centre or for the service commercial, without having to, keeps it removed from Glen Iris proper. The second matter that I'd ask the Council to resolve on tonight is to ask the City to make a parallel resolution to construct the new roundabout on Victoria Road at the school, and to do this with some priority in the next financial year budget. As I spoke about at the briefing session last week, this has always been the plan for here, and the farmers market long ago made a financial contribution towards this. This is going to resolve the present right-hand turn issue as you exit the farmers market itself. There really can't be complaint about this particular problem at the farmers market when there is already a solution that's determined. It just hasn't been executed as yet, and the farmers market can't do that. It is convenient, but construction of this roundabout can actually be standalone. It does not have to be contingent upon and wait for the USIC development opposite to be built first. The third matter I'd ask the Council to resolve upon tonight is a further parallel council resolution, and that would be asking the City to advocate to main roads with the farmers market for some widening of Victoria Road in the short term. I did touch on this last week, and this would allow through traffic travelling along Victoria Road to bypass the cars that are turning in left. At present, it's just not quite wide enough, and that's where the bottleneck can occur as well. The ULOF traffic report provided in my submission, and which I did circulate over the last couple of days, does make some useful suggestions, some concepts in this regard. With these three matters incorporated, the four-way intersection at Victoria and the left-in, left-out, the new road, construct the roundabout and the widening, the farmers market could then actually advance themselves on improvements within their site. And there's various solutions that are possible in this regard. Glen Iris is the entry into Bunbury, and getting the Glen Iris District Structure Plan right is so critical for a range of really important reasons. And it's not just for the farmers market, as you've heard from the other submitters that have spoken, but also in their written submissions. As I said last week, the farmers market, it's recognised and it's very popular. It brings visitors to Bunbury, and it also creates a profile for Bunbury, and that's really important to look after, even if you don't choose to shop there necessarily. My clients have no issue with the principles of this district structure plan, only how it's going to impact upon their business, upon Bunbury and Glen Iris more generally, if we don't take this one opportunity that the City has to get it right. To conclude, this is a really complex structure plan, and it's a really important decision for the City to make. I did say this last week. I do hope that everyone's contemplated, I think, the legacy of this structure plan and the legacy of this decision for Glen Iris. Thank you.
Thank you, Canella. Before I just ask for a mover, just for the reference of the gallery, we have a... Oh, Mr Fitzgerald, we hadn't received anything from you.
Mr Mayor, must have been an administrative error. I apologise for that. Is it possible to speak? I do apologise. But if not, I understand your protocol.
I'll just have to check on governance to see the process behind that, Mr Fitzgerald. Is it, might ask through the CEO, the manager of governance, to give me some clarification on that.
Certainly through you, Mr Mayor. I certainly recall seeing deputation requests coming through from TCON for the agenda briefing, but not for tonight. But having said that, it's obviously at your discretion, sir, as to who is or isn't allowed to speak at the meeting.
Sure. I'll put it to the council. Those in favour to allow Mr Fitzgerald to speak, please indicate. Councillor McCleary?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Councillors, I do apologise for that. I did think that we were on the agenda to speak, so my apologies. Councillors, last week I spoke in detail about the complexities of the structure plan, as you've heard from speakers tonight. And I also spoke in detail about particular issues that were raised in regards to our clients that we represent. We represent 3 clients. As I said, so briefly, just for the record, we represent Grazing Proprietary Limited, which is South Moorlands, Greentime Holdings, which is what's referred to as the Glen Iris Village development, which is currently subject of an SDAU application and will become public at a later date. And we also represent another smaller land holding who has a property that's associated with the Glen Iris Village development that we're progressing. Councillors, I just reiterate, $30 million in stage 1, more than $30 million now. 260 million investment, 500 million worth of economic activity overall in terms of output and combined development of our clients' land. It will generate 120 construction jobs and 87 million in wages and salaries. So that's a quick snapshot of information that we've determined from consultation with Urbis in an economic snapshot as part of our SDAU application. And clearly, Council, that first stage being the URSEC development is the $30 million plus that will initiate a lot of development in that area. It is complex, and you've heard from some of the speakers, some of the issues such as traffic management. I can assure you that as part of our SDAU application, we've been working for over 12 months in comprehensive traffic analysis with Main Roads and SDAU in trying to secure an outcome, which is, as has been put by several of the submitters, in the interest of the community and in the interest of our developer, obviously, but in the interest of the whole of the area from a planning context. So, councillors, I'd just like to retouch on the elements that we spoke about last week. There was the flood modelling, there was the alignment of the interior integrator, and there was the equity of the contribution plan that we spoke about for Grazing Proprietary Limited. Again, as spoken tonight, we welcome the suggestion of an amendment to your agenda tonight, which includes the reference for an investigation into further flood modelling. We think this opens it up for our clients, we think it opens up for the community, and as you've heard tonight, it offers a huge potential for some investigation into that area. Councillors, as I said, I spoke in particular about our Moorlands development with the realignment of the proposed integrated road and the concerns on the particular alignment, and the recommendation includes the possibility for that to be reviewed, and that's what we were asking for some time, Councillor, is just an ability to have this looked at. It might not be the only option that's being proposed. We think it's well worthwhile investigation of this overall. So, and we also support the potential relocation of the proposed primary school site, as I understand is presented in an additional recommendation to you tonight. Councillors, this recommendation does not specifically address our Greentime Holdings or the Glen Iris Village component of the development, and our items that we raised last week still remain. We don't understand, there's no detail provided, there's no explanation, and we would question the need for land take on the northwestern corner, and we believe that we have engineering options that have been researched and can be provided to provide an alternative and an option which will not implicate our land owners or retake. So, and again, councillors, we don't have all the information to present to you because we haven't been given information about what that is or what's causing it or where it's come from. Councillors, we still have some reservations about the recommendation, in as much that, as has again been presented to you tonight, we appreciate that council could make a recommendation for some changes and some review of that, but very clearly, WAPC might take that on board and say thanks very much for the advice. So we would urge that wherever possible, that we would ask that council advocate as strongly as they can for a successful outcome of this district structure plan as suggested. This is not just for our Land Holdings Council, this is for the development generally. But we think it's important that it's not just a recommendation that says, have a look at this, guys, and then it disappears into WAPC potentially without potentially further discussion with the community. So we think that it's important that you continue to work at whatever level you can with WAPC and other state agencies to ensure changes wherever possible are implemented. And I would stress that only as strongly as I can, councillors. Councillors, we would ask that council acknowledge the importance of the district structure plan, as has been said tonight, and the importance of this moving forward. We have been working with our clients for over 3 years. We were told 3 years ago the structure plan would be 9 months away. I've heard summer, spring, 6 months, 12 months, a variety of references to when the structure plan would be finalised. I would hate to hear that it was delayed further, which could risk further development going ahead in that area. And as I've indicated, Council, there is a significant opportunity for a large amount of investment in regards to that locality. So, councillors, again, just to summarise, we support in principle the direction of the structure plan. We certainly support the recommendations that have been put up in recognition of some of the issues that have been raised, and we would urge you to do whatever is possible and whatever is available to you to progress that structure plan with the intent of trying to achieve those outcomes. And thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. Just for the minute take, I think you need to come down a bit. We're just missing a little bit from the bottom of this executive recommendation. I think there's a couple of sentences missing on the bottom of 4, A and B. And while we're just grabbing that, or potentially if you need that, we'll just ask through the CEO why this was adjusted before coming back to council and in this format in requesting rather than adjusting the plan itself. If I could just ask the CEO or Acting Director just give some clarification before asking for a mover on why those were changed.
Through the Chair, I'll direct this to Mr. Barber.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as outlined last week, the structure plan does provide the ability for the floodway to be further investigated. However, the burden of that fell to the landowners. So it's suggested through this recommendation that we request the state government undertake that work. By having it as a separate recommendation gives the ability for the CEO or yourself, Mr. Mayor, to advocate for that at the state government level.
Thank you. And I'll just ask, before we ask the move, I'll just get the correct recommendation up there. So the minute taker might just need to include A and B on the bottom of those two parts. Have you got that?
Yes.
We'll just wait until we get that and we'll ask for a mover.
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councillor McCleary.
Could you read that A and B out?
Sure. It was circulated with councillors, but I do note you have been on leave. So, Councillor McCleary, the recommendation on the screen in front of us is that it's point 1 and 2 as per the agenda. And then point 3 has requested the West Australian Planning Commission to investigate if the flood levy... the minute taker just moved something from me. I'll start again. Number 3, request the West Australian Planning Commission to investigate the floodway can be removed, negated through flood levy improvements and or filling of the land for the purpose of releasing approximately additional 20 to 30 hectares of developable land. Point 4, should the need for a floodway be negated through flood levy improvements and or filling of the land, request the West Australian Planning Commission consider the following amendments to release additional developable land. And that's Part A, realign the proposed Western Link Road, south of Jeffrey Road, to the western end of Jeffrey Road. And B, relocate the proposed primary school site, Lot 1 and Lot 2 Jeffrey Road, Forest Highway. So we have that, thanks Councillor McCleary, we have that now, that's now the part of the executive recommendation. So we have an executive recommendation in front of us. Do I have a mover for this? Thank you, Councillor Andrew. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Yip. Councillor Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to move this and support the Glen Iris District Structure Plan and the recommendations for amendments that have been included. Whilst this structure plan did not begin with the city, neither will it end with us, or the final decision does not rest with us. But we do have the opportunity today, Mr Mayor and councillors, with a strong resolution from this council to recommend to the WAPC the plan itself, but also the recommendations included. Now, it does seem that a structure plan can be somewhat like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And whilst we cannot physically change the plan itself, we can, as a unified voice, recommend the changes, in particular, the further recommendations regarding the floodways, which then can lead to better allocation of land for schools and possibly the realignment of the new integrator arterial road. And out of that also comes a larger amount of land available for residential development, leading to better outcomes for developers and the community. Now, being a high-level strategic plan, there's the balance that we need to take into account between the needs of the community and those of developers and businesses. The community, through the consultation, Mr Mayor, have asked for better access and more sporting facilities. The developers have voiced their concerns regarding the floodways, school location and roads. And with the additional recommendations, hopefully we've gone some way to alleviating some of those concerns, acknowledging that there are other concerns still. As a resident of Glen Iris, on and off for over 30 years, I've seen many of the changes firsthand. When we first moved to the area, when I was a little bit skinnier and a little bit shorter, there was a drive-in cinema where the farmers market is now. There was surrounded by bush, I had cubby houses. It is something completely different. However, we do move on, and the development of Glen Iris Stage 1 will go a long way to building a strong future for Bunbury. The additional dwellings will grow our population. There will be more people, more local residents who will help support and activate and grow our CBD, which will in turn help support employment and new business ventures, not to mention future commercial developments around the farmers market precinct. This plan has taken far too long, and I wish to acknowledge and thank the key stakeholders and the community for their patience. And I hope that we can all continue to work together, Mr Mayor, to achieve the great outcomes for the community and to achieve the outcomes of the Bunbury local housing strategy, which will go a long way to achieving the 16,600 potential new dwellings in the city. A unanimous support for these recommendations, Mr Mayor, is the best way that we can advocate for the recommendations and for a good outcome for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Andrew. Councillor, yep.
Oops. Thank you, Councillor Andrew. I agree with everything you said. And I just wanted to point out that this week we've had a lot more information about all of this, and it's just proved to me that the council staff, councillors and stakeholders are really keen to come to a really strong united force on this, and I have no doubt that we will get there once this recommendation goes to the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there a speaker against? I just have one question before the vote, if I could ask through the CEO, just on the comments around the road, the Victoria Road. If, obviously being main roads, do we have any indication their current plan, and if they were to change that setup, what process that would take?
Through the chair, I'll refer that to Mr Barber.
Through Mr Mayor, just to clarify, you are referring to the Victoria Road intersection,
yes,
and whether that would change?
Yes.
So the structure plan, the plan itself is silent on it in terms of the actual map. Within the structure plan text, it talks about that in the long term, that intersection could be downgraded, subject to further consultation with the landowners. There's a table in the structure plan that acknowledges that currently businesses require that access for their business, and that it's unlikely in the medium term, even with the new road going in, that intersection would be downgraded. The presentation that Main Roads provided to the councillors indicated that when the new road goes in, the lights would be phased to act as a single intersection, and they didn't indicate at that briefing that they were planning to downgrade the Victoria Road intersection.
Thank you. Speaker against? Councillor Andrew, anything to finish? I'll put the recommendation as it stands. Those in favour, please indicate. Councillor McCreary? Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
That's okay. That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you to those in the gallery. Feel free to stay. If not, have a very Merry Christmas. We come back, councillors, and we might just, we'll just have a moment to grab Councillor Quain. Thanks, Councillor Andrew. just wait for Councillor Quain. Thank you, Councillor Quain. He didn't ask to leave, so can we, do we have a mover for this? 1011? Councillor Andrew? Councillor Giles? This was pulled out by Councillor Gassett. All those in favour, please indicate. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Councillor McCleary, that was 1011. How do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 1012, councillors. Someone happy to move? Happy to second? Councillor Kozisek. All those in favour, please indicate. Councillor McCleary.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 10.1.3, councillors. Do I have a mover? A seconder? Councillor Kozisek, thank you. I'll put those. Those in favour? Councillor McCleary?
Yes.
That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Uh, 10.1.11 I had. Oh, sorry, 10.1.9 requires an absolute majority. My apologies, minute taker. Should never argue. Somebody happy to move this? Councillor Kozisek. Councillor Giles is a seconder. I'll put that. All those in favour, please indicate. Councillor McCleary.
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you. Item 10.1.11. Could I have a mover for this? Councillor Andrew, seconder. Councillor Giles. I'll put that. All those in favour? Councillor McCleary.
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you. Item 10.3.4, councillors, requires an absolute majority. Somebody happy to move that? Councillor Giles. Sure. You happy to move?
Yes, I will.
Yep. Is there a seconder? Councillor Andrew, thank you. Question, Councillor Giles?
I tried to find the edited version, but I couldn't see it at all. So I assume that the edits have been done on the annual report.
CEO.
It's not in the.
I'll just confirm that for you, Councillor. Yep.
Can you please, through the chair, can you please repeat the question?
Were the edits that several of us put in done to the annual report? Is that what we're doing? Oh, sorry. Oh, that's a different one. I thought we were doing the annual report.
Oh.
10.3.3.
That was moved on block, Councillor Giles, but we'll take that question and make sure that was updated for you.
That's fine.
We'll make sure of that.
But I'm happy to move the other one.
The acting CEO does have an answer for you, Councillor.
Through the chair, yes, we have looked at that.
Cool. So we have item 10.3.4. You've already moved that one already, and Councillor Andrew moved. I'll put that. All those in favour, please indicate. Councillor McCleary.
Yes.
That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Councillors, we're now on to item 10.4.2, Community Safety Advisory Group. So there's 4 parts to it. Part 1 requiring 2 nominations for that positions on this group to join myself and the other representatives. Is there any nominations for being part of this? Councillor Quain, Councillor Turner. Any further requests to be part of this? Councillor Gassett? I think as we have 3, we'll have to have a ballot. I just asked the acting CEO, the terms of reference note 2, I guess it's if this council wants to update that, because we're doing the terms of reference, you could move that we have 3. I'll just ask if there's any other reasons why that couldn't occur, acting CEO.
Through the chair, Mr. Galinsky or Mr. Barber?
Through you, Mr Mayor, no reason whatsoever. It's obviously at the council's discretion as to how it wishes to set up its advisory group.
Happy to allow you to move that, Councillor Giles, that we have 3 councillor representatives and those 3 named, if there's no other nominations. So, Councillor Giles, if you're happy to move that we have Councillor Turner, Councillor Quain, Councillor Gassett, and if there's a seconder, Councillor Kozisek. And Councillor Giles, you're happy to move all that entire recommendation? And same with yourself, Councillor Kozisek? Okay, so just for your preference, Councillor McCleary, we just changed item 1 to endorse Mayor McGill, Councillor Turner, Councillor Quain and Councillor Gassop as one councillor representative of the Community Safety Advisory. Just noting, we'll just have to update the terms of reference to include 3 councillors, but I'm sure, do we need that in this recommendation? And that's okay. Getting some nods from governance, so that's fine. We can do that at probably the first meeting for that group. Okay, so we have a mover and second. Is there likely to be any debate on this, councillors? I'll put that. Those in favour, please indicate. Councillor McCleary?
Yes.
That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. That is done. Item 10.5.1, councillors, requires an absolute majority. Do I have a mover for this? Thank you, Councillor Quain. A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Smith. Likely to be any debate? Thank you. I'll put that. Those in favour, please indicate. And Councillor McCleary?
Yes.
That's carried unanimously as well. Thank you very much, councillors. We do have an applications for leave from Councillor Steele. Is somebody happy to move that? Councillor Andrew, seconder. Councillor Giles. I'll put that. Those in favour? Councillor McCleary?
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you. And before we just move to go behind closed doors, Councillor McCleary, I believe you're aware of this, but you need to make a declaration. Do you have that declaration in front of you?
I will have in 2 seconds, thank you. I, Councillor Betty McCleary, declare that I will maintain confidentiality for the consideration by Council of items 15.1, 15.1, 15.12, 15.13 on the 20th December 2022 Council meeting agenda.
Thank you, Councillor McCleary. And then just for the knowledge of the elected members, again, that's the update with the new call-in procedures. If you were previously, I don't think you weren't able to maintain 4 confidential items, but by declaring that, you can. So thanks, Councillor McCleary. Somebody happy to move that we move behind closed doors? Thank you, Councillor Andrew. Seconder, Councillor Quain. I'll put that. Those in favour? Councillor McCleary?
Yes.
That's carried unanimously. Thank you. For anybody watching online, we have made 3 recommendations from behind closed doors. Item 15.1.1, which is a request for tender Forest Park Sporting Pavilion. Do you have the mover on there, minute taker? It was moved by Councillor Quain and seconded by Councillor Giles. And that recommendation was that Council, pursuant to Forest Park Sporting Pavilion replacement, accept the tender from Hacer Proprietary Limited, trading as Smith Constructions, for the price of $2.9 million and $200,000, excluding GST, and subject to minor variations to be negotiated in accordance with Regulations 20 of the Local Government Regulations. Number 2, delegates power and authority to the CEO to negotiate and agree with Hacer Proprietary Limited, trading as Smith Constructions, minor variations in accordance with Regulation 20 of the FG Regulations, subject to being sufficient funds available within the approved expenditure budget. 3, subject to Resolutions 1 and 2, authorise the CEO to enter into a contract with Hacer Proprietary Limited, Smith Constructions WA, to provide the Forest Park Sporting Pavilion design and construct. 4, following entry into the contract, negotiate variations with Smith Constructions WA to respective contracts, subject to there being sufficient funds available within the approved budget expenditure for the project line or line item. We also approved 15.1.2. Sorry, that last item was carried unanimously. The next recommendation, moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Quain, that Council approves the allocation of $500,000 to the Bunbury-Harvey Regional Council to address legacy issues, noting that the $199,333.50 will be allocated for the removal of disposal of a third of the non-compliant mattress bulky items at Stanley Road Mass Management Facility, in accordance with Clause 7.3 and 7.4 of the Regional Council Constitution Agreement. 2, approves the contributions to the Bunbury Harbour Regional Council of up to $500,000 to be funded from the Refuse Collection and Waste Minimisation Reserve Fund. And 3, requests the CEO prepare a discussion paper that explores the costs, legal requirements and logistics of implementing a waste levy in accordance with the Waste Avoidance and Resource Recovery Act 2007. Sorry, Councillor Smith. It's got cents on the end of it. It's 500,000 with dot and 0 cents. And that was carried unanimously as well. And the last item, 15.1.3, that was moved by Councillor Smith and seconded by Councillor Andrew. That Council, BHRC new line sell business case, endorse the BHRC line sell business case. 2, support the construction of first phase of Stanley Road line sell project together with the immediate capping project to advance as early as possible. 3, supports the BHRC and member councils seeking capital funding through the EOI proposal as the first funding preference. And 4, notes that there should not be suitable line sell development partnership opportunities identified through the EOI process, that the CEO will return a capital funding model for the line sell and immediate capping projects to council for its approval. Increase in the City of Bunbury contribution to the BHR line sell from 4 million to 6 million. So this is, approves the City of Bunbury future allocation for the BHRC new line sell to be increased from 4 million to 6 million, subject to 3 and 4 above, and in equal proportion to the Shire of Harvey, which is be repaid by BHRC through a self-supporting loan, 10-year loan as provided for in the line to sell business case. And 6, supports the reimbursement of the City of Bunbury's unlined sell capping contributions, $3 million principal only, by Bunbury Harbour Regional Council in accordance with the BHRC dividend agreement, which determines that the payments of dividends of both member councils are to be instituted once surplus funds are generated from the operation of the new line sell. That was also carried unanimously. Thank you for elected members and staff and anyone in the public still listening. Before declaring this meeting closed, as I said at the start, wishing everyone a very happy Christmas. It's been a very long year and I'm looking forward to a good break, and I'm sure everyone else is. So wishing everybody a very happy 2023. Thank you very much. Declare this meeting closed.